October marked Domestic Violence Awareness Month. The national campaign is working to bring abuse out of the shadows. Reporter Ellie Romano reports on Somerville agencies that protect abuse victims and offer support as they rebuild their lives.
Well, she was drunk.
Boys will be boys.
I'm sure they'll work it out.
He warned her.
She was asking for it.
Why doesn't she just leave?
1 in 5 women and 1 in 7 men experience domestic violence in their lifetimes. Many of those hide the abuse, feeling ashamed and powerless. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, bringing the issue out of the shadows and offering hope to the abused. Domestic violence happens across all social and economic groups. In a diverse city like Somerville, abuse can happen to anyone. There are several outreach organizations here in the city that are ready to help anyone who has suffered from domestic abuse. Respond began 40 years ago as a small network of shelters.
We have moved beyond just sheltering folks. We also do a lot of education, and we do a lot of training in workplace to help employers recognize signs of domestic violence, and expanded our services to include counseling services, housing search, help with job placement, etc.
Abuse victims often need more than just shelter because domestic violence can take much more than physical safety away from a victim.
So domestic violence is a pattern of abuse and control. It's control one person exerts over another person. It's not just physical abuse, and I think most people think automatically physical abuse is domestic abuse, and certainly a pattern of physical abuse is domestic violence, but there's also other methods of control: financial control, sexual assault, threats. We see threats all the time, and then isolation.
Respond continues to operate an emergency shelter to protect those fleeing extremely dangerous situations.
Generally, we like to keep people in our shelter no longer than 90 days. It's an emergency shelter. We can serve about 85 people a year, and we're turning away about 2,300 people a year calling our hotline looking for emergency shelter. So the need is really great.
Because domestic violence affects adults and their children, Parenting Journey on Somerville Avenue offers support to anyone in need and their families.
Most of the women that come through that are survivors or have experienced domestic violence learn to build trust within themselves, within their families.
Parenting Journey understands that surviving abuse is a process that takes time and support.
When people come through Parenting Journey, it's a 12-week curriculum. So it's a 12-week sessions, 2 hours a week. So that's 12 weeks of their time. When people need extra help, then we refer out to maybe Respond or Casa Myrna. I'm a survivor of domestic violence myself, and it took many, many years to get out of it and to stay out of it. It's an ongoing process.
Awareness is the first step to escaping an abusive relationship. Services exist here in Somerville to help. If you are someone struggling with domestic abuse, seek help.
If somebody is struggling with domestic abuse in their family, first of all is to admit that there is some abuse going on, to talk about it, to reach out for help, ask for support.
It's not your fault. You're not alone. And to call a hotline.
There's so many people going through it that you don't realize until you open up and talk about it, and just get out, and just, there's so many places, even if, you have to leave your community, it's worth it to be safe.
For Somerville Neighborhood News, I'm Ellie Romano.
You can find more information on these organizations and additional support services on the Domestic Violence Resource page at somervillepd.com.